Welcome to each and every one of you to our UCM, Universal Church of the Master Speakers Series. We are so proud and pleased to pronounce that we have an amazing tarot reader and a tarot instructor, Ms. Ruth Renata Davidson, who comes to us from a great deal of experience and wisdom. I love what Ruth wrote. Tarot is simply a way of communing with the divine, the universe, God, Jesus, Bridget, your inner wisdom, your angels, whoever, using images, archetypes, and symbols to create a sounding board of meaning, clarity, and direction. Ruth will be sharing her knowledge as a tarot card reader. And you know, one of the favorite tarot decks of Ruth is, for Android, is the Galaxy Tarot, and my favorite for Apple is Tarot and Numerology. You do not need a deck. You can simply look this up on your phone. Ruth is an accomplished reader and healer. She has been reading tarot professionally since June of 2018. It must have been a past life, Ruth. It must have been a past life. But have been studying several years before that, obviously, because I have her at 1918. Okay. Her first public reading was as a professional, was actually at UCM. She is an Earth Reiki master, massage therapist, and she has a master's in education. So she's the perfect person to teach us about this incredible topic. My soul vow is this: I accept all things that are for the preservation, healing, and growing of love eternal, come what may. And Ruth, we just are so grateful you are here. And we have a tradition on the education series of doing this, lighting the candle. And I don't know if you can see the candle. And there is an origami heart here on the candle to celebrate our many dimensions of our heart. There are actually pockets in the heart, and the heart is an archetypical symbol. My brother taught me how to do this before he died. He taught me how to make the crane and the heart. Don't ask me to do anything else origami. But Ruth, we will be giving you this candle.
Thank you.
At the end of this, as a gratitude, as a thank you. And so I'm just going to invite you, as I light the candle, my friends, to just take a deep breath. And just let go on the out breath. Let go of all of the cares and worries of the day. Let go of any obligations or burdens. Yeah, that's it. Let go of anything that is weighing you down and allow yourself to be in this nurturing circle, this light circle of people that are coming to this wisdom circle to hear and experience Ruth and the dimensions of the tarot. Let yourself be fully present. Feel yourself in your body. Feel the wonderfulness that is you. And just feel whatever spiritual tradition you have of letting go of the burdens and getting you grounded into this moment, into this time, into this particular circle, as we hear from our wonderful Ruth Renata Davidson. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. And I love that the candle's green. It's my favorite color. I don't know if you remembered, but like, okay.
And I actually wanted to share that this is a peacock motif. And in the olden days, the peacock was the symbol for the phoenix.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So helpfully, Janet did the all about me part, which is really great because I tend to be really bad about that part. Like I get on, I don't know how many times I've done this, and then I'll be like, what am I supposed to say about me? I don't know.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. But I'm in my car today because my brain, for whatever reason, had it in its, you know, in its synapses that I needed to go to the UCM office to do the recording. I was wrong, clearly. So I'm in the car. I got my phone all propped up on my steering wheel, so I'm vaguely facing forward. My angle's a little weird, so pardon the foreshortening. But yeah, okay, tarot. So, story first. I wanted, as a teenager, the tarot deck that Hitomi used in the anime Escaflowne. And I could get it for free. It was one of the, you got the DVD, you bought the DVDs and they had a little thing. If you send it in, you can get Hitomi's deck that she used. So it's not really the full deck. It was just the deck of, it was just all of the cards that you saw in the anime. Was I able to get it? No, because my teenage self was so excited about being able to get this thing for free, and growing up poor, that's like a super big deal. I told it to my mom. And my mom was like, oh no, you can't have that. That's going to like lead people away from Jesus. That's going to, people, you'll start relying on that instead of on the Lord. And even if you don't do anything with it, it'll be an influence on your younger siblings. I'm the third out of 8. I grew up Mormon. And she absolutely 100% forbid me. Now, there are times when I knew I could push my mama to be able to get what I want. Unfortunately, this was not one of them. And then many years later, I had my sort of a spiritual awakening, faith crisis / faith expansion thing going on over a period of time, right? And I started using tarot apps because they were, the free ones, and also because they were on my phone. I could totally hide them. No one knew because, good Mormon girls don't use the tarot. That stuff's evil or whatever. And so I just kept it like on the down low. And then I was at a science fiction convention called BayCon, and it's here in the Bay Area. That happens every year. And they had one of the artists that was there was Stephanie Puimunla, and she was displaying all of her artwork for the tarot that she did called the Shadowscapes Tarot. And I fell in love so hard with her deck. Like it was practically like a whole spiritual experience. And it took me a year and a half to be able to buy it, but I couldn't buy it then. At the time, I was unable to buy anything. I had like $10 to my name at this convention. Pretty sad, but there it was. But I got her info, and then a year and a half later, I was able to buy her deck. But I call her deck the deck that made me brave, because it was so powerful enough for me to be like, you know what? I'm going to have my own physical deck. That's it. I'm doing this. And then later I wanted to learn more about the tarot, but all the things and all the teachings were with the Rider Waite Smith system. And so in order to learn it more deeply, I bought that deck because, and I wanted to be able to reference what people are referencing, and it actually helped me understand Shadowscapes better. And that leads to a bit about, okay. I'm just going to show you the picture. Let's see, can I do it? This is Pamela Coleman Smith. She did all 70 in 3 months. Arthur C. Waite was the dude that asked her to do the art. And she obviously did not get paid nearly enough, but more, there it is. But she was a Catholic convert. She thought the Catholic rituals and stuff were all great fun. She's biracial, but kept that on the down low because in the early 1900s, she was born in the late 1800s. In the early 1900s, that's no bueno, right? Being biracial. And there's a lot of evidence as well that she was also bisexual. Also no bueno, right? But I think it's important to mention that she was also a Catholic convert. And Arthur C. Waite was also someone who described himself as a Christian mystic. And what I really particularly appreciate about this deck construction is that he just trusted her art. He just accepted it. He didn't nitpick it, any of that stuff, which I think is great because, back in the day, you know how they were about us, right? Us women's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now I'm saying one too many times. My communications teacher from aeons ago will be disappointed. The reason why I think it's important is because we have these scary cards, so-called scary cards, called the devil and death and everything. But it's like, that doesn't mean the devil's good. But that's not what it's saying. It's saying, yo, hold up. You got to check yourself. So because I have used that background for the Rider Waite Smith deck. And it's called by other things. There's the Universal Waite. That was the first one I got. Slightly different coloring. And there's the Centennial Edition, which celebrates, 100 years and all that stuff. But I find it important so that when you talk to people about, tarot a little bit, you're not going, there's but the creators were Christian, and the Hierophant, is like spiritual authority. It looks like kind of like the Pope, and I mean, which can also be a little bit traumatizing for some people. But at least the Pope right now is like pretty darn decent of all the popes, and he makes Catholicism look good. Anyway, as like a bridge, so that your more fundamentalist Christian family can be like, oh, made by Christians, by people who believed, and okay. And another thing that, people were like, well, why do you need cards? And what I like to tell people is, I don't have a book with me, but you know how there's this thing called bibliomancy. It wasn't described, that word wasn't used growing up, but growing up, we were told, like, if you're really struggling with something, turn your scriptures to a random page, look, either point to it or look and see what pops out at you suddenly in bold or something. And then that verse or set of verses is the answer to your question, and is the thing that will help you get through whatever it is you're dealing with. I'm like, it's the same kind of thing, except instead of using a book with just words, you're using cards with archetypical images. So to get the same kind of guidance that you might need on something. So then am I saying that it can be? Sure. Are you saying that tarot is a bridge from Christianity to mystical? It can be. That probably is actually can be something that can scare some people, like, oh, it's going to lead you away from Jesus or whatever. But I like to just see it as it's just another mode, and it's like a tool, like any other tool, I mean, there are so many different varieties of Christian that you can just even use the Bible to be like, look, we have like the really super strict, crazy Christians, like the Westboro Baptist Church. Like every other Christian sect seems to think those people are crazy, right? Protesting it, like what? Who does that? But they're using the same tool to be cruel, whereas other people are using the same tool to be kind and compassionate. So yeah, it's like that. Okay, I'm gonna walk back a little bit to a little bit of the history. By the way, thank you, Cheryl, because this is all her fault. She was just like, I want you to do this. Let me go talk to them. Sure, okay. So thank you. So I'm talking a lot about the Rider Waite Smith. Rider is actually, everyone says Rider. I don't know why they say Rider. It's so stupid, but we're stuck with it in our lexicon because I was the first publisher who printed the cards. They're out of business. They've been out of business for many a decade, but we're stuck with it. And hearing people say goodbye. Can you hear them? So we're stuck with that. And then Waite, for whatever reason, comes first because he wrote the original, the words. But really, it's, in my mind, it's all about Pamela because her art makes it. Her art makes it what it is. Okay, so I'm talking about this one. There are other decks. There is
Morgan Greer.
Huh?
Morgan Greer.
Oh, but those are more, again, what I mean by other decks, what I mean is decks that were created, like Morgan Greer is based off of the Rider Waite Smith. So there are a lot of people after her who decks that are based off of Pamela's deck. Light Sears Tarot, yes, that's also based off of the Rider Waite Smith. There's the Tarot of Marseille. Look, it looks like Marseilles to me, but apparently it's pronounced Marseille. There's me being super, super,
Ça, c'est très foncé. Ça, c'est très foncé.
Yeah. So
Marseille.
That came first. And there are a lot of ideas that people have. They'll say, oh, it's originally from Egypt. Oh, it's originally from the Roma people. Oh, it's originally, I mean, like people come up with all sorts of like ideas, but the fundamental thing is we don't really know. Some of the oldest cards that of imagery that exist are in Italy, and they're from like, I think the 17th century. No. Yes. Excuse me. Whatever. Hundreds of years old. But the best summation I've ever heard is that a lot of the conglomeration of interesting ideas probably came from the Silk Road, that developed, with the Tarot of Marseille, because there are still some of these other cultural influences in that particular deck. So we don't really, the true origin, we don't really know. We just know, it just seems like it originally started out as a card game. But, people play lots just for fun, but then people play lots for divination, and that was in the Bible. So, it's fine. Okay, Joan, ask me a question. Do all decks have the same meaning, just different pictures? Yes and no. If it's Rider Waite Smith decks, yes. I would say everything that's based off of that, and that's the most popular one, yes. All pretty much. The different pictures just bring different aspects to it, to life. So you know, when you paint, when you go to one of those paint parties and you're all painting the same thing, and then everyone's, you can tell it's all the same picture, but all looks so different and unique at the same time. Sometimes it's like that. And then sometimes you'll have that one person who'll add like some random bird that totally wasn't in the original picture, but hey, why not? So one thing I think we should talk about now is the structure. It's like a game. I thought this deck was in order, but it is not. That's, oh well. There are 5 suits. You know how in a deck of playing card you got 4 suits, and then you have the face cards? Well, instead of 4 suits, it's 5. And the face cards, there are 4 in each suit. Well, except 4 in each of the minor. Okay. There's the major arcana, the big spiritual lessons. By the way, if you go to my website, ladyofradiantjoy.org, the first post I put, this is really weird. I can hear myself. I put cheat sheets to all 5 so that you can like reference them. Okay. Big spiritual lessons, major arcana, 22 cards. These are things that that's the devil. That's where you got the nice empress. That's, the world, the sun, all sorts of fun stuff. And then you have wands, which is clubs, which is fire. Right? So wands. And then you will have cups, which is the hearts in a playing deck. And that's the water element. And then you have swords, which is spades. Come on, swords. Oh, all right. I wasn't. The only sword that's showing up is the scariest sword, but it's okay because you see the little guys. That's a little sign that he's saying it'll be okay. He's just down right now. He'll be okay. So, that's the air suit, which is about air being about communication and the logic and things like that. And then pentacles, sometimes called coins. And those are the diamonds in a set of playing cards. And then in each one, and then in each suit of the minor arcana, minor being, they call it minor because it's more specific to the day-to-day things instead of the big arching things. So really it's not minor, it's just smaller, but not smaller. Whatever. None of these words. I hate all the words I'm using. Okay. We have the Page of Cups. These are the traditional names. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the Queen of Cups. And we have the King of Cups. And there's one for all of them, for wands, for swords, pentacles. You'll find that in a lot of newer decks, people are trying to get away from using colonialness, however you say the word, that suddenly just, why is it a tongue twister? But get away from, this sort of hierarchy that stems so much oppression, colonizing everybody and this and that. So I find it good to know that the traditional one, so that when people deviate from it, it's easier to track. Like there's a deck called the Gentle Tarot, and the pages become seeds, and the knights become roots, and the queens become flowers, and then the kings become harvest. And the meanings are basically the same, but is bringing a different sort of imagery to life. But I can only remember them because what those are, because I can track it to the traditional. So I find it very useful to know the traditional. Okay, so Joan, Spirit keeps telling me to come back to this one point. Okay, there are some decks. Another popular deck that was made after the Rider Waite Smith deck was the Thoth Tarot by Aleister Crowley and Frida Harris. Yes, Frida Harris. And he uses a different system. Like, there are no kings. It's princess, prince. It's the highest one is the knight instead of a king. The strength card. Let me find strength, which is a lovely major arcana card. Yes, there are 5 suits. The major arcana are 1 suit, technically. Like, here's strength, but he changes it to lust, right? So it's a bit of a different system. There was one time I had an event and I just said, for this particular event, I was just like, bring your favorite deck. And so someone brought a Thoth, and they were having a really hard time with interpretation because all of the books that I had were Rider Waite Smith books. But I happened to have had a tarot app that I bought for $4, called the Rosetta Tarot, I think it was, yeah. And it's based off the Thoth deck. And so when I handed her that to use the meanings for her deck, then things started clicking. So Thoth is a little bit different. I don't recommend Thoth because he was known to be exceptionally anti-Semitic and racist and sexist, even more than you could. You know how a lot of people will be like, oh, but a man of his time. No, this was extra even for a man of his time. So I typically don't recommend it, but if you already use it or you're already connected with that deck, the thing is that, of course, the deck will work because the universe knows what you're doing and how you're connecting with things. So you'll never find me saying the deck won't work or something like that. So if you love it and you connect with it, that's just fine. Same with Tarot of Marseille. I personally don't really care for the art style of that deck. So I just don't really use it for me. But other people love it. And that's just fine. Yeah, I don't really think there are any necessarily good or bad decks. It just is what matches your energy and what feels good to you. There are some people who love horror, and so they will use decks that are horror ridden, and I'll be like, nah, that's okay. You do you. That's fine. But then I had someone say that my Crow Tarot was too dark. And to me, we're like, what? Crows are awesome. What do you mean it's too dark? And it's just what? So to each your own on that. But my main thing is I do teach the Rider Waite Smith. But of course, I have to know enough about the other cards so that when things come up, I can talk about it. Okay, I suddenly feel like I should ask if there are any other questions first before we do anything else. Dottie, if you're meaning to talk, you're muted.
Unmute. The one I really like is the Mother Peace deck, and it's round. The cards are round. And it's done by Vicki Noble, who lives up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And in fact, we've had Vicki come and speak at UCM at a time. But they're softer, and they're very much has to do with what you can do to improve everything, improve the environment, and improve your ability to communicate and that type of thing. So it's a little bit more modern. And you can tell that when you pick it up because they're round. It feels so different to have cards that, not the typical card shaped. And so I always suggest for people to look and see how many, because last time I counted, there were 178 different tarot decks. And that's big. And because we're getting them from all other countries. It used to be, it was mostly in English or French. And so if you get a chance, go to a bookstore and ask them for the tarot deck catalog. And you can just do a thing where you just run your fan down until one of them speaks to you and decide, well, maybe I'll look at that one. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Yes, there are hundreds and hundreds now of different decks. If you are familiar with Kickstarter, it's where you can help kickstart in projects that by pledging to donate a certain amount, and then at the end, if they get enough pledges, then the project gets to go off the ground and be made. I have, of course, kickstarted probably, my husband would say, way too many decks. Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. He lets me be me, so it's all fine. But yeah, there are a lot of decks, and it's okay to explore and see what you like and what you prefer. And it's also okay to mix them up. I have some decks that are magpie decks, where I just take cards from my favorite decks and I put them together into one deck. So it's each card is represented, but my favorite cards from different decks are in. And that's a lot of fun. Christine.
That is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that came
That's
out.
a wonderful idea, because I'm thinking of matching. Yeah.
Not my idea. This came from the Awaken Tarot. That was the most successful, biggest kickstarted tarot project, and that deck had 140 cards, all from different decks. Worked with different artists and all sorts of really cool things, and it just created this whole subculture of, I'm a part of the alley now on Facebook, where we could just trade cards together, and it's fun. And yeah, so it just changed the whole game for me. It just made it more fun. But of course, I have plenty of decks that I keep together, that I'm not breaking them up to turn into, a magpie or something like that. But yeah, it's fun. I believe that Christine asked, are you 5 suits? Are you counting the major arcana as a suit? Yes. The reason why, it is a suit, but it's not a traditional suit. It's not one of the 4 minor, but you're right. I probably shouldn't have said 5 suits. I probably just said major arcana, minor arcana, and those are broken down into 4. But my brain was thinking 5 suits because my brain went from fire, water, air, earth, and then spirit. And the major arcana cards are the element of spirit. And of course, these are the Western elements, not the Chinese 5. Though I think of metal as being a part of earth, and I often think of wood as a part of water. if I'm tracking it, because some people will ask. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to try to track it on kind of like this, it's not perfect.
I have a question.
Please.
Did you give a website a short time ago?
Oh, yes. Let me type it. ladyofradiantjoy.org.
Thank you.
Lady of Joy. Yes. I have a bunch of resources up there, but specifically for this, I wanted to make it easy was the cheat sheets for all of the sections. You know, major arcana, and the 4 minor arcana, so that you can just have an easy reference. Instead of trying to read a long book, several paragraphs about, which are really cool, but when you're in a class, probably not that great.
We so appreciate it. And I mean, you have already given us, Ruth, an amazing overview that I have never heard your perspective before. I love it. You are so all-inclusive.
Oh, thanks.
Ruth, can you kind of tell us what, so if I came to you for a reading, can you kind of tell me how that would work?
Yes. Let's say you come to me for a reading. You tell me your question, or, well, sometimes it's hard to find a question. You just know, look, I'm dealing with all this bullshit. Is that bad for say on camera? I'm sorry. I'm dealing with all this BS. And
we give permission.
There are these stupid moving parts to it, and I'm really frustrated, and I don't know what to do about it. Okay.
Is that how most of your readings begin, or is a defined question more common?
It's about 50-50, I think. And when it's a bit convoluted and I'm trying to help you find the question, then that tells me how I'm going to lay out the cards. That tells me what pieces I need to look at. This is actually a great segue into spread, right? Like, you can theoretically just shuffle the cards, right? And by the way, there is no wrong way to shuffle. If anyone tells you that you have to shuffle just like this, otherwise you're doing it wrong. No, ignore that. That's their way. That's their way. That's correct for them. I have seen people riffle shuffle. I've seen people, do hand over hand, no big deal. Don't drop the cards, Ruth. Not in the car. I've seen people shuffle and they'll say like a little, please universe, bring out what I need to know or whatever it is. And they are asking the question and they just keep shuffling until cards pop out. I'm like, if a card pops out, that to me, that's like an extra card that's like underpins the whole reading, it's like, or like the pot in the reading, when you, if you want it like a potted plant analogy. But okay, that's how you do you. Okay. She thought she was wrong when I said I'd never seen that before. Oh my God, is it wrong? No, of course not. Just because I've never seen it doesn't mean it's wrong. One person, they struggle with shuffling because of their hands. And so what they'll do is they'll do a little bit of the shuffling and then they'll count, one, they'll have it and then they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, set those aside, and then draw. Because of how they have a hard time with the shuffling. And so for them, that's a better way to shuffle. So there's no wrong way. You do it your way. It doesn't matter if you do it, you keep them all face down first. It doesn't matter if you do face up as you go along. It doesn't matter if you take them from the bottom. It doesn't matter if you go from the right to the left. forward, back, it does whatever, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You'll be amazed how many people still come back and ask me, is this doing it wrong? No, really. You're not. Just shuffle the way you want to. Experiment. Do a bunch of different kinds to see what you want to do. Donna, your hand is raised. Is it meant to be raised?
We have 2 Donnas.
No, I think that
You're
is
right.
not.
You do.
Yeah.
Other
So
Donna.
what you have done,
Yeah.
Ruth, in a very powerful way, is just given us permission to do it in our own way, whatever calls to our heart or our spirit. And I just want to acknowledge that. What a gift. You've just given us right there to take away the wrongness.
Yes. You can mix as well. Speaking of ways, like there are people who will you want to use an oracle deck at first. So draw one card from the oracle deck, and then they'll draw a card from a tarot. And there are times where I've used 3 different decks in the reading, just to make it clear, this is the basic reading. Now this is what are we going to do about it? Now this is how the rest of your week, or actually at that point it was the year. Now here's the rest of the reading for your year, because you're dealing with a bunch of BS here that needed clarification before she could even be able to have her whole year reading. Okay, so spreads. Spreads are only there to help clarify your intention with the reading. So the simplest spread is a 1 card. What do I need to keep in mind today or during this meeting? Usually, like last time I did into this meeting, was I got temperance. Okay, so don't bring in sass, because it will not be done. They will not receive any amount of sass very well. Any amount of, okay, but yet still be real. Okay. All right, I can do that. Right? We don't want to boil the water. Okay, I got it. Or just for the day. And that's also really helpful to help you learn the cards. Just to shuffle, draw, just today, or as a reflection. What do I, before you journal at the end of the evening, it's the end of the day, you want to journal a little something or do a little meditation. And so it's just a nice way to just enrich the experience. The most common spread you'll see in a lot of lessons will be past, present, future. Is the simplest 3-card spread. And the reason why that is used and still be very powerful is because it allows you to tell the story of, you might have a question of, should I look for a new job? Well, if you think about what's going on in your recent past, the last month to 3 months, maybe at the most, like what's been going on with work or whatever. Now here you are in the present, and with tarot, the present can be about up to a week, a little bit, but like this is what's we were dealing with now. And then, but having that to know what was going on in the past can clarify some of the feelings of the present, and this then help you see more of the direction of what the card means about the future. And the future being near future, or some people like to call it the advice card, but you can play with it. You can do past, present, future. All right, now I got this. Now what? Advice. That's fine too. I suddenly feel like I should make sure I say this. a 2-card spread that I will use often is, what will it look like? Like, what will it look like if I do X? What will it look like if I do Y? And basically that's what I'll use if, there's so many events out there, so many cool things that are happening. It's like, do I need to go to yet another meditation class thing? Do I need to go to yet another drumming circle? Do I need to go to this particular, whatever it is? And sometimes if you have a lot of things on your plate and you're having a hard time trying to figure out which to do first, sometimes it's like, I think the last time I used it was, what would it look like if I went ahead and did laundry today? And what would it look like if I went ahead and waited? Well, okay. It looked like hail if I did laundry that day. But then I got the Tower card. Oh, of course I just shuffled. And if I don't do it that day, if I did it later, all that meant was the laundry will pile up and I'll just have to catch up. You know what? That's okay. And that's what I did. It made my Sunday evening much better. And then I took a load of laundry up to my sister's because I had to go help my sister. And I just did laundry at her place while I was helping her out. So we all have underwear. We're all fine. I just got to do more laundry later this week. But I really needed the rest because I was just so, I was just, recovering from stuff and everything. You know what I mean? And sometimes the answer will be like, they both suck. Should I go to this event or not? And they will be very clearly, it's both good. It's going to suck both ways. And I'm like, well, if it's going to suck both ways, then I'll do what's most convenient for me, which is nothing. So I stayed home. Yeah.
So Ruth, can I ask a question?
Of course, always.
So for yourself, do you do largely just on a daily basis, you do 1 or 2 card draws? But in a reading, if I come to you for a reading, what do you do? Do you do 3 cards or 2 cards or 10 cards or?
It depends on how much time you got. So like if I'm at a fair, and we only got 10 minutes, it'll only be a few cards, maybe up to 5. But usually if I'm doing an in-depth reading, like if you go to my Etsy shop or something and you buy an in-depth reading, it's, I think it's very fluid, but I tend to end up doing about 13 cards just to get all of the moving parts. Sometimes for comparative readings, someone that they don't know if they should, take a break from school that semester, or because they're just really getting burned out, or if they should go ahead and keep going, so then we have this comparative stuff and different things like that can add more to it. Because the whole point,
does that take an hour?
it can. I think the longest reading I've ever done live for someone was 2 hours because she wanted to ask me lots and lots and lots of different questions. She had a lot of things on her mind, and so it was basically just several, she gets clarity on one thing. Okay, great, I'm good there. And I'm still having this problem over here. Okay, and she would get a little bit over there, and then she would ask me questions, and so it ended up taking about two hours. But I wasn't charging by number of cards or by spread or by question. I charge by time, because I think that is more I just feel like for me, that's more appropriate. Unless you're on my Etsy shop. And then of course, you know, I'm doing it through email. Therefore, I'm not charging by time. I'm more charging by what's convenient for me, because it's more convenient just to type everything out, because then I can do it all at odd hours and, you know, yeah. Cheryl, what's up? Your hand is raised.
Yes, I have a question about the wands or the I don't even know, the suit and the element. For example, you said swords are air and it's all about communication.
Mhm. And
Basically about communication. So
Mhm.
what would fire be? And
Passion.
passion,
Passion and ambition, yeah.
and
Your
then
drive, your will
water.
would be about your emotional life, your feelings, family, friendships, having fun,
And then earth.
practical stuff, material world. But some people like to just say, "Oh, it's all about money." Nah, but it's also about tradition and that kind of family, you know, traditional stuff and legacy and connection to the earth and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where are we for time? Oh, okay, cool. So, Janet, do we do breaks?
We
Or
can
do we-
do whatever you wish, honey. We can go for as long as you wish, and we can do whatever feels right for you.
Okay.
If you would like to take a break, we can. Or, you know, we can continue and then
A lot
whatever,
of
you are in control, my friend.
a lot of times in my classes, people will be like, "Okay, I'm ready for a break," and they'll get up and for 5 minutes or something, and then we'll come back, and then we'll start the practice or whatever.
All righty. Are folks needing a break?
No.
Oh, Joan, that is Lady of Radiant Joy is the name of my shop. Who's surprised? Anyone surprised?
No, it fits perfectly. So typically what we do, Ruth, since this is only 2 hours,
Yes.
is we kind of go through it. But I mean, anyone, of course, is free to take a break, including yourself.
Oh no, I'm
Right.
fine. I'm the one who tends like to just get all into it and then forget, like, oh yeah, other people need breaks, which is silly because, you know, hello, master's in education.
Exactly.
Hello.
Well,
Come
I'm
on.
just telling you that, I mean, I'm so enthralled and engrossed. I feel totally engaged. I don't need a break at all. And people,
Right.
if they need a break, can take a bathroom break or take whatever they need to do. And I would honor, in the spirit of what Ruth just said, to take care of yourselves, my friends. So if you do need to stand up or take a break or, you know, just take a breath, feel free to do that.
Drink
Feel
some
free
water.
to do that. Absolutely. Drink some water. Rehydrate.
Sounds
We're
like
talking
good
about deep stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So a couple of ideas is I could do a sample reading for like a general reading, right? Like past, present, and future. And just to give you an idea of what that might look like. Or we can just dive in and y'all can do a general reading for yourselves.
I have another question.
Or we can answer questions.
Um, and if this question needs to come after your demonstration, then that's perfectly fine. I don't want to, reroute anything. But so
I'm here to your needs, y'all.
Oh, thank you.
So
a friend of mine who knows a little bit more about tarot than me said that she learned that there is I'm going to say sort of a flow or a cadence within each, is this called a suit?
Mm-hmm.
Within each suit, such that like the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups, the ace of any of the suits sort of means a particular thing. And so that if you find a 5 in a particular suit or several suits, then you know the 5, oh, the 5 means this generally. And the 7 means this generally. And then of course its meaning is further defined by the suit that that number is in.
It sounds like combining a lot of numerology, which I totally respect. A lot of people do. I actually do to somewhat, but you know, like the 5s being about change, that really matches. Like if you were to take out all of the 5s, you would see that there's a lot of, you know, either sadness or scarcity thinking, you know, just you know, maybe like struggle a little bit, but where it kind of starts to have a little bit of, you can't just do, in my opinion, I don't feel like you can just do straight numerology and transfer them exactly, because so I do appreciate that your friend is like, but then what's on the cards changes, like changes that meaning a little bit, because like you have the 10 is completion, right? Well, here's the 10 of Cups. Now, ain't that a nice happy card? There's a rainbow, everyone's celebrating, the storm is past. Look, them kids are playing, you know, it's a very nice. They're just out and about, you know, they're enjoying their property, you know, or the neighborhood, whatever, right? So that's either their house or their neighbor's house. Maybe their house is off camera, or maybe that's their house and they're just having fun, you know, with their property or whatever, right? Wonderful. Mwah. Everybody loves this card. Just about. There's always that exception. And then you have 10 of Swords. Like, are you kidding me? 10 swords, all the way down your back. I mean, completion. Well, I mean, you're down and out. You better just stay down. Stay down. Don't go crazy, right? But things will get better. But like, it's a very different, it's a different flavor. So yes, there's each one has different flavors. Let me find the other 10s. Which is where are you? Why did I shuffle? It was only vaguely like not, but then I shuffled it because I was just playing. Like, thanks, Ruth. You know, 10 of Pentacles. This is a very nice, you know, you're all together with your family. You have legacy. There's grandpa with the dogs. There's 2 parents. There's the kids. The pentacles are all in the shape of the Kabbalistic tree of life, in which I now have to say the caveat, the Western understanding. Okay, so when you go and you read about the Kabbalah or the Kabbalistic tree of life in relation to tarot, it's going to be a bit different than someone who's Hebrew, you know, Jewish, and they come from that tradition. The Western understanding is different. There's still lots of similarities, of course, but I think it's important to acknowledge that it's different because we didn't grow up, the people who made this and all that stuff, we didn't grow up Jewish, didn't, you know, have all of that history and all of that richness and culture and all that kind of stuff. So it's fundamentally different understanding in a lot of ways. So yeah. So there we go.
Okay.
And that's a very nice card. And then you
So it's not necessarily, I'm just trying to get through some layers of understanding, I guess. And it's not necessarily true that you use the numbers in a way in your readings.
Ye-
Maybe,
ye-
maybe not.
yeah, like, I mean, yeah, like the number 8, was a very auspicious and wonderful number, right? I like it's the abundance and the infinity and limitlessness, because if you put the number 8 on its side, it's under the infinity symbol. But the 8 of swords looks terrible in comparison, and a lot of people don't like the swords. So I think the reason why people don't like swords is because the swords have a tendency to more really call you out on some BS. No one wants to think that they're being the deceiving one. No one wants to think that when you're down, you really are down. You should just let it lie for right now before you pick yourself back up. Like, don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Like, some people they don't like the 3 of swords, which hasn't come up because it's the heart with 3 swords stuck inside of it. I mean, that looks terrible. It's the shape of a heart and 3 swords are through it, and it's raining. Well, people don't like that because, oh my God, heartbreak.
Sounds like a bad day to me.
Yeah, they much would rather have
Rainbows.
the 3 of cups. Everybody's happy. Of course, you would rather have this one. We're all celebrating, wonderful. But it's important to know and acknowledge, like, some people, they don't let themselves feel sad. Like, your child breaks up with their significant other, but you really liked their significant other. It's okay to feel a little sad. You're happy that your child is doing what's best for them, but it's okay to feel a little sad. Or sometimes it's using logic to hurt your heart. Like, you really want to be an artist, or you really want to be, a licensed therapist, but that doesn't make a lot of money. So all your family is like, are you kidding me? You're going to be poor for life. You can't be doing that. You gotta like do something that's going to make hella money, go into business, go into computers. And you're like, I hate all that stuff. But then you go and you do it anyway. I mean, that's using logic to hurt your heart. So
it sounds like you're inviting us to take a wider perspective in terms of these meanings and what we might have preconceived in our mind. Like, I love what you said about the 3 of swords, that it might be my mind really literally dampening and destroying my heart.
yeah.
So to look at it from that wider perspective of what the meaning might mean for me at this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, how it will change. So let's say that you get that card and it's in it's about work. What can you do to advance your career? And you get that card and it's your present card. Like, here's what's going on right now. Like, it's saying it's like you need to really honor the hardships that you're having at work. You can't advance your career unless you fix some of these. And maybe you're being misused or overworked, so you can't advance and there's nothing you can do. But we sometimes we have this idea that we have to stay loyal, and, oh, they really need me, or, oh, if I don't, like, we have these things that block us from seeing more clearly, because we just don't want things to be bad, and we are taught to just let it like we're taught in our society that to glorify the grind, you know, so then it looks like you're being weak if you're not being a team player. So to advance your, you know, would actually hurt and not. So yes. So that, but you know, in a relationship reading, you know, maybe there are some things that person is saying to you that keeps repeating and keeps hurting you, or maybe you're, you know what I mean? So like it changes depending on what the question is.
Yeah.
If you're doing a reading like, how can I help my kid? You know, and this comes up as like an advice card or something. It can be like, oh, okay. My kid's really hurting and I need to like honor that and not jump immediately into trying to fix their problem, because you can't, you know, you like kids are needed to still feel their feelings, even if we don't want them to have to hurt as parents. Um, um, I don't know why swords keep popping. Okay. So like another thought too, depending on what kind of spread you're deciding to use. Like if you're gonna do like you can build the spread. So like if you start out with past, present, future, just to get a general idea of the situation of what you're dealing with whatever your question is, like, you know, what can I do about self-care or something like that. Then like you can go, okay, to get more clarity, well, what's really my obstacle? What's really like what's hamstringing me, right? And then you can like, okay, now what's the solution to like, you know, I see where my future is. It looks pretty fairly positive, you know, everything maybe, but you're still having a hard time getting from where you are, like Three of Swords, you ain't, you know, then and so it's really hard to like see the nice positive. Let's say you got the 10 of Cups or something, like how, like that makes no sense, you know.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Joan brought up a question in the chat that I wanted to offer. Do you
Oh, yeah.
feel that spirit brings a message through the cards?
Yes. Now I have to also say that there are people who don't believe in a god or any of that stuff, who use tarot primarily as a psychological tool to help people figure stuff out. That is totally valid. Some people use it only to like try to derive their own inner wisdom, which is like a different spin on sort of almost the same thing. But yes. I view it as, you know, getting direction from, you know, the universe, the divine spirit, whatever you want to call it. Oh, I can't even remember that. What's the word from Sunday? It wasn't like gods or whatever, that from our talk on last Sunday. It was so cool. But you know, some people, it's just, you know, general spiritual wisdom of the world, you know, of existence, right? And some people will ask for a specific deity, or, you know, specifically their angels, or you just make that beforehand. Angels, I got this problem here. And then you do your spread and all that kind of stuff. I have actually done spreads where it's your, what does your angels want you to know? What does the earth itself want you to know? What do your ancestors want you to know? What does your own heart want you to know? And building that just for people to help get a little bit of clarity from these different resources that people have, right? And also grounding people, bringing them back to remembering Mother Earth.
I like that a lot, Ruth. But let me ask you this: are you ever asked questions like, Is the stock market going to go up, or is the financial markets going to bust, or questions, predictive questions?
So I only ask predictive questions that relate to me. Because if I ask just a general, is the stock market going to go up? Well, like, there are so many different moving parts and so many choices within. Like, you, like, how is that going to be useful? I mean, what if it does go up, but only for a day? And the next day, oh, Dow Jones is, down by 3% or something. Like, like you're on the radio or whatever. And and then you might think, oh no, the cards were wrong. But it did go up for a day or whatnot. And that's also the thing, is that it's not always, it's a probability thing as well. And so I find it more useful. Like, what I might do is, if you're thinking about investing in something, investing your money in something, or I might do a reading on, what would it look like, the beginning and the middle of the, and the end, just like in the first, whatever space of time you want to give, like, but what would it look like if I were to invest in X versus if I were to invest in Y? And if they both look good, then you can do one or the other, or if you have hella money, you can do both, I guess. And if they both look bad, then you can be like, maybe I need to rethink all of this. Maybe there's something else I need to learn and figure out first. There's a piece I'm missing. Or if one looks terrible and the other one looks pretty good, then outright, not that one. But but yeah, predictive is, I find, more useful, not in big bombastic stuff, but when it comes specifically for me and my life and what I'm doing, which can, if you're going to invest, like we were just talking about, involve how should I invest, my money or whatnot.
Well, for example, I could ask you, I'm making this up and I'm not recommending this, but if I were thinking about buying Chevron, which is an oil stock, so the question would be, um, should I buy Chevron now? Or what will it look like if I hold it for 3 years? So that would be the kind of questions that you'd ask.
Yeah. Should you do it now? Should you do it later? Or at all? Is there something better? There was, that actually reminds me, there was one woman who was having a hard time, and she was thinking she wasn't liking the way things were going with one. And I don't remember all the details, but one of the things was an oil thing, which is why I'm like, oh yeah. But I do remember telling her that she should also make sure that whatever she's investing in matches who she is as a person.
Mhm.
Right.
So if I believe in saving planet Earth and I have an electric car, which I don't, but I do have a hybrid. But let's say I believe in saving planet Earth. I have solar panels, I have an electric car, and I'm thinking about buying Chevron oil stock. That would be a conflict.
right. So maybe you wouldn't feel good about it. But it doesn't mean, sometimes we can be guided to do something temporarily to get a particular boost. So if you feel guided to do something temporarily as a particular boost, buy and then turn it over real quick,
Mhm.
then, maybe, cause, but yeah, because there are other wonderful things you can invest in that will have good returns that would more closely match. That's my,
I should buy Sunrun solar panels instead of Chevron.
yeah,
Or-
yeah. Of course, so you're all making this up, but yeah,
I am making this up.
I know. But I just thought I should mention it again to everybody so that nobody forgets. We're making this up. This is all in theory, okay? Like everything, unless I specifically said, "Oh, this one person or this one time," I'm making it up as well. You know. Uh. Yeah.
We might get a little bit of a different exposure if we were to do like you were saying before, to do a 3-card reading and let us see you interpret the pictures and everything.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, but real quick before that, what I was also going to mention, remember obstacle, what's my obstacle, and then what's the solution? I just want to mention, like, each card can be in the obstacle and in the solution, right? You never know. So, like, if you get the 4 of Swords, which is usually about rest and allowing yourself to rejuvenate, meditate, whatever. If you get that in the solution, well, that's obvious. Girl, go take naps. That one's easy to understand as a solution card, right? Go meditate, relax, rejuvenate, watch a funny movie, go watch Galaxy Quest or something and laugh your arse off. But if you get it in the obstacle solution, you'll be like, well, that's really weird. But it could be, oh, you're using meditation and rest as a way to escape, or instead of using it as a way to rest, you're using it as a way to isolate, and that's not helpful either. And thus it's a bit off balanced, right? So yeah, I just thought I should mention. Okay.
That is beautiful. I mean, just what you just said. It talks about, addresses the nuance of this and really paying attention to the deeper rivers of meaning.
Right. And the other thing that I didn't know before you said that is that when you're doing your spread, you've got spots that you're identifying as a particular meaning.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that this is the obstacle and this is the solution. And then whatever card lands there gives meaning to, oh, what is the obstacle?
Yeah. And
that's fabulous.
that is absolutely 100% the point of a spread, because then it gives you some clarity instead of just running off and not knowing what you're doing. Yeah. If yeah. On my default spread is kind of like beginning, middle, end, tell the story, but that's also sort of like past, present, and future, and then you go from there. You can always add cards. Oh, but what about this in relation to that? You can and suddenly your 3-card spread is like 15 cards because you got a lot of moving parts. Oh, I hate the sound in the car. Isn't that interesting? I'm in the car and the sound of shuffling's terrible. So, okay. All right. I just had a pop-out card. I'm doing hand over hand shuffling because I don't like the sound of the riffle shuffle in the car. I had one pop-out card, King of Cups. I'm gonna set that aside. I'm going to do past, present, future. And then depending on what I get, we'll see if I need to like add anything else. You can do anything with 3 cards, by the way, body, mind, spirit, Sometimes it's really helpful. I did that once and discovered that, oh, hey, I'm doing really great in body and really great in mind, but oh, hey, my spirit needs a little help. Oh, okay, I didn't even realize it. Wasn't paying that much attention. All right, and I have another pop out. That's okay. How many more times do you think I should shuffle? 2, I guess, since nobody said anything. 1 now. You're right, Janet. Okay, so normally I would lay them out like flat, like boop, boop. Really? My Lord. And then boop, right? I would lay them out flat, but I'm in the car. Alrighty. So I'm really amused here. And that's because I got all swords.
We were just talking about them.
Oh,
They
you bet
must have
about
called them up.
I guess. Reverse readings. Yes, I do them, but if you're just a beginner, you can think of reversals and uprights as something to pay a little extra attention to this card. But it also depends on the deck. So Shadowscape's my favorite deck, the one that made me brave. That one always felt a little awkward to read straight reversals. But the artist didn't draw the cards with reversals in mind. So with that deck, I don't read reversals. Everything is about the position that everything is in, and what cards are in the position and the relationship they're in. But the simplest way to read reversals is like, if there's a block here, something's up. Sometimes it helps people to think of obstacle and solution as, reverse versus upright or something. But you don't have to. I mean, the Thoth Tarot doesn't use reversals. It's either dignified or ill-dignified. Basically, it's how many. It's taking the elements and looking at them as opposing forces. So if you see a lot of fire and a lot of cups and wands, fire and water, then you have a lot of opposing force or whatever, which just makes me think of Pokemon, frankly, who's, grass is weak to fire, that's all. So reversals are useful, but not necessarily required. And if that, and it doesn't necessarily, they don't mean exactly the opposite. That doesn't make sense to me.
So
but
reversal is the card coming out upside down.
yeah, like if you draw the card instead of nice and upright, it's all upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's your choice. It's fundamentally your choice.
Okay.
But if you want to play with, if you want to play,
what did you draw? I'm eager to hear if we have a good day or not.
what?
I'm eager to hear if we're having a good day or not. So what did you draw?
Oh, well, if that's what you're thinking of this deck that this is from, this is just some made up. Oh, just give me a general reading.
Okay.
I suddenly feel like we should just do a general reading as like a relationship. Okay, let's do that. Like, so a relationship with someone, romantic or platonic, doesn't matter. General reading. Okay. So the first card is 5 of Swords. Got the dude. He's got, 2 swords on one hand, one in the other. 2 swords are on the ground, and these 2 people are walking back away from him, and he looks all hella smug, and the weather seems a little bit on, on the blustery side, considering the clouds in the background. So basically it's like, hey, yay, you won, but at what cost? Right? It's like you just won the argument, but all you did was hurt the person. Did you really need to win that argument? Was it really that important? No, it really wasn't. You know. So in the past, I would say, like, either you or someone towards you has, been not having discussions faithfully. They're favoring brutal honesty or being right over being, compassionate, over being fair-minded, right? And it's just really important for to win, right? Let's just say, oh my gosh, my boyfriend is always like that, especially during Mercury retrograde. And then I think, oh honey, if he's always like that, especially during Mercury retrograde, I promise it ain't a Mercury retrograde problem. But I don't say that right away because that would be mean, right? And then and that would be like in the past. That's what's been going on in the past. And then we have the Six of Swords. Yeah, I'll say it in a minute. You've got the person, they're moving from unsteady waters to clearer waters. We got a parent and a child. The swords are in the boat, representing moving away from strife to clearer waters, right? And that just seems really nice and positive. Like, we're letting that go, and we're just going to move on. We're going to move forward. Something better. We're going to work this out. But alas, this is apparently a pattern of douche, recover, because you're just going to get your heart broken again. Right? So then it's like, okay. And then you're like, all right, what do I do about it? What do I do about it? But we had 2 pop-out cards, remember? That just randomly came out. So before adding anything else, all right, let me look at these 2 pop-out cards. Okay. The first one was King of Cups. This is a court card. Court cards are usually a person, either yourself or someone else, or it's how someone else is being perceived or how you're being perceived, like your persona, right? So a King of Cups, emotional, and it's like emotional intelligence. Oh, really? I dropped I dropped my Empress. It's okay. I have another one. So because this is a person, as a king who is like stable and reliable and understanding and reasonable, and just as like the kind of person that is safe to talk to about your emotions, right? And your feelings and things. I mean, like, he's all chill with all these emotions and stuff going around. It's like, yes, this is life. Very zen, really. Look at them fish. All the things that happen in our emotional waters. And then I would be like, you need to talk to a trusted friend, right? You need to talk to your dad, your brother, your best friend, your mom, sibling, someone that you just really, really trust with your feelings. Even if it could be your therapist, whatever, right? You need to talk to him about this to get some clarity. Okay, I dropped my Empress. I'm not gonna try to dig for it. That would be way too embarrassing. I would drop my phone. And then, yeah. So I'm gonna get my other Empress. Just a different coloring because it's a different deck. Empress. She looks all nice. She's very in tune with nature. She has her throne. She's comfortable. She's, you know, she's an empress, right? She owns herself. She's self-sovereign. But an empress is also the kind of person that goes out and does community things, community building. Like the emperor is like the logistics nerd. All the things that kind of go on in the background and all this stuff. This is that going out and about and doing things. And this is like reminding the person, okay, look, remember who you are, remember your own self-sovereignty, and maybe go out with someone else. And I'm not like dating, but I mean like go and volunteer somewhere, or allow yourself to receive some nurturance, right? Some people can think of this card as Mother Earth. Allow yourself to receive some nurturance. And since this is like a big spiritual lesson, and they're having this struggle, and the spiritual lesson came up, is to know that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, because no one would ever think to treat an empress with anything less. That would be ridiculous, right? So we have that. And that's when I would just stop, because there's no reason to pull out. Well, now what? Well, we know now what. Go talk to your friend and help. Your friend will help you remember who you are. Remember that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Go talk to this trusted friend. That's your homework. Right?
That is beautiful. I mean, I just want to acknowledge the way you evolved it and the way that you expressed it.
That was very, very helpful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't get all sunshiny cards, because it just gave us the perfect opportunity to really.
Yeah. Some people, they get all of the same suit in a spread, they'll be like, oh, I must have shuffled wrong. But I have found more often than not, it's still correct. I remember giving a reading for a youth, and I was doing the big 10 card Celtic spread, and they were struggling with some stuff with school or whatever, and literally half the deck was half the spread was pentacles, and the other half was swords. I think it was swords, or was it wands, whatever, but it was half and half. Okay. And at first I looked at that, I'm like, surely I did something wrong, because it was earlier in my days, right? And I'm like, I'm going to take my pendulum over here, and I'm going to be like, hey, is this correct? Is this correct? And I went through all the cards. Are these all, is this correct or whatever? They were all correct. I'm like, well, okay. But if I had just assumed, I would have just taken it all away and reshuffled, and she would have gotten a less of a good reading. But it was perfect. It was everything that she needed to know. So, yeah. All right. We got like 20 minutes. Do you want to just open the floor to questions, or do you all want to shuffle what do I need to keep in mind? What does the universe want me to know right now?
I wanted to ask you about your Etsy site. Do you get a lot of readings off of that?
I mean, what does that mean? Do I get enough readings where I could pay my bills or something? No. Could I get, it's sporadic. Sometimes there's I'll get quite a few all at once, and then nothing. And then I'll get a few again, and then nothing for a while. I do need to I've been planning on adding some stuff there, so that people, some more smaller readings, just quick insight readings that might be a little bit more affordable, because all of them are in depth, like the year reading, you're reading for the whole reading card, you know, and all the other readings tend to be like in depth. The cheapest one is the what does your angels want you to know? What do your ancestors want you to know? What does your heart want you to know? A 3-card one. That's like the cheapest one for only 10. Because I feel like since I'm channeling specific things for people on the spiritual end, it feels gross to try to charge more for that sort of thing. So I'm like, that can be like the nice, but you know, anyway.
But it is an avenue for you to that you've created so you can talk to people and have that.
Correct.
You
Correct.
can have that experience, and they can have a resource.
Yes. I also have a meetup group called Tarot Energy Healing that I was ambushed by my guides into creating, the jerks. They had told me to reserve a room at the Mitchell Park Library. And I'm like, why would I do that? I mean, it's, yeah, sure, free, but why would I do that? I have nothing to do over there and reserve a room for. I'm like, just do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I did. I'm like, all right, now what? What am I doing with this? And they're like, you're going to invite your friends and have a tarot class together and it's going to be fun. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Okay. So I'm like, what time? And so I came up with a time and I'm like, all right, so rise with my friends. Hey, let's do this. And they're like, hey, yeah, cool. That sounds great. You know? And then they're like, all right, my guides were like, all right, now you're going to make a meetup group and post the event on Meetup. Let me tell you, I was very dramatic because I was like, what the hell? I had to be very dramatic first about that because I was just like, excuse me, you want me to really put myself out there and do that? Are you nuts? But I did, and it was fine. And that was like a year before the pandemic, I think. Yeah, it was
So
19.
does the
So
library charge you?
no,
Oh,
it's just you just have to have 2 people and you just have to sign up beforehand, but you only get 2 hours. The downside is the 2 rooms are fairly small. So I haven't gone back since COVID, but then I started doing classes through Zoom, which is why I was really comfortable just doing this and why, because I've done this sort of thing before. I'm like, it's fine. I'm in my car now. I'm not going to be 20 minutes late so I can get home. That would be terrible. Yeah. And there I'll do other things. Like sometimes I'll teach pendulum stuff. Sometimes I'll teach things about spirit animal guides. I'll teach more in-depth stuff about the tarot, of course. We'll get to spend more time with things on different kinds of spreads and more practice. And then I'm like there as some, you know, you're practicing on each other. And then I'm there if you have any questions, you know.
but don't they post it, or can't you post it at the library or something?
I've never actually asked if I could post at the library. I think it has to become a specific library event for that
Yeah.
to happen. So I've just been doing, you post it on Meetup. Sometimes I'll post it in my Facebook group, also called Tarot Energy Healing. I've also will teach Reiki there too. Yeah.
So do you
So
currently have tarot practice classes?
I don't have any currently scheduled. But what I often will do is, like, if you're like, come on, Ruth, we really got to do this, then I can work like with your schedule, Cheryl, and then I'll know you're coming, you'll know I'm coming, and then I post it into the group and invite everyone else in the meetup group and then see who else shows up. And so then, you know, um,
So I'm wondering, Ruth, I know that our time is quickly flying. Would you like to do maybe a more general reading about, where we are right now as a community? Or can you
Oh.
do that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I can do that. Boy, I'm glad I brought 2 decks. I'm like, why am I bringing 2? They're basically the same. Oh, because I dropped one.
you knew.
I knew, but I didn't know, but I knew. Yeah, I can just a general what about what this group needs, or whoever hears this needs, with body, mind, and spirit? What do you need to hear?
Okay. Perfect.
I really want a riffle shuffle. I'm gonna try again. It's a different deck, so therefore maybe it'll sound different because different paper. It's still ugly in the car. I hate it. How many more times do you think I should shuffle?
2 more.
Okay. 1, 2. Oh, praise be. No pop outs. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Okay. So 3 cards. I'm going to show you 2 of them are actually reversed, and I'm going to read them as reversed. But let me show it to you upright. Queen of Wands, a very warm, compassionate, fun person. A little sassy, a little loud, maybe. And then you have the little kitty. Yeah, I love the kitty. Okay, but it came out reversed, and it's in the section of body. So what I'm getting is you don't need to listen to other people about the good health of your body. There's so many things that people say, well, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and this and that, and everything, that it gets confusing and things get crossed. And sometimes some things are good for one person, but it's actually a terrible idea for another, you know? So it's cut out the noise and you listen to your body. Don't listen to other people about your body. When it's reversed, it's you trying to listen to other people about your body. No, it's your body. Listen to yourself and your own body about your body, and then it'll become upright, and then you'd be happy with that. You'll be much happier with it. I mean, don't ignore your doctor or whatever. I mean, be smart, but even then, sometimes your doctor's dumb about certain things. Look, I have a friend who's like really is physically just great, but the doctor keeps telling her to lose weight, and I'm like, no, if you lost weight, it would be awful for you. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so eat more of this, eat more of that. Well, just listen to your own self and your own body. Okay.
I love that interpretation, by the way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have the Knight of Swords, another person. Now, one of the things I also like to call the swords is the cutting through the BS suit. Because sometimes in order to get to the heart of something, you just got to cut right through to it.
Okay, that's it.
So we have the Knight of Swords. He's moving fast. It's like this is like the fastest knight, and just like really just slashing everything out of the way, like okay, all right. But sometimes but it's reversed because sometimes you don't need, so it makes me feel a little uncomfortable personally to say this, so hence my hesitation. Just full disclosure, sometimes you don't need to cut through the BS so fast. Sometimes you can go ahead and just slow down. You can just say, something seems off about that to me. I don't know why. And that's it. That's where you leave it. My sister was saying that she was using rubbing alcohol every time she scratched her leg to like clean it. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me. I don't know why. And
Did it work?
and I didn't understand it until later. You know, I did a little bit of research. Other things came up and this and that. It wasn't imperative to try to just like figure it all right then. And that's a really simple example, right? But sometimes you don't have to necessarily move fast, right? Because it's better to move precisely, like a surgeon. If a surgeon just moved fast, that would be bad. The surgeon needs to move precisely, and have steady hands and all this other things, not just cognitive know-how. If you have a surgeon with just not always shaky hands, that's no good, right? And you want precision and things like that. So just slow down when you're separating things out. And that's okay. And then 5 of Pentacles. It's upright. This is the sad card, the scarcity card. Scarcity thinking because, they're out in the cold. They're obviously, dressed poorly. And there's this window to a church. And, a lot of people, they don't like this card because of, they've had church trauma, because the church won't help them. However, in this particular instance, because I'm reading this for you,
Alexa, who's singing?
that it's telling you to remember that CCL has your back, UCM has your back. Okay. So if you need help, if you're feeling poor in spirit, you have your spiritual community and they will help you. Call Janet, call Corky. You can even talk to me if you want to, just Lady of Radiant Joy at gmail.com. You can just email me, or if you need my number, email me first. I'm not about to give my number out in public like this. Talk to someone. If you feel poor in spirit, you have your spiritual community. You have people who will help you. You've got Corky, you've got Dottie, you've got all these good people that are here. Like there's not a single person that I see that makes me go, ugh, that person. None of that. You got people that you can talk to.
That is a beautiful frame. That is a beautiful frame, and it shows your skill and your depth of understanding, Ruth, of the intricacies of the tarot. I mean, that is beautiful. I mean, before this, I would not have been able to listen to quite that level. You've just taught me a different way of listening and paying attention to what are the messages that are coming through the cards. That's incredible.
And
incredible.
real quick, especially in the beginning, and maybe even also, especially when you're reading for yourself, it's totally okay to still use the guidebook. Sometimes when I'm doing a reading for myself, I'll still get in my own way and I'll read the guidebook to get out of my own head. And then sometimes I still get in my way and I have to go and get a reading from someone else.
Beautifully said. So utilizing all of our resources and resourcing.
Yep.
And, what's an amazing thing about what you're bringing us, Ruth, is you're bringing us a new ground where we can lay out our tarot decks and where we can ask those kinds of more deep and more powerful questions and really listen to what it might all mean.
You just make me feel all warm and fuzzy about myself. Thank you.
Well,
All true.
you have been a gift, an incredible gift to us.
All true. Thank you very much, Ruth. I really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
Having me. And thank you again for Cheryl for making it happen.
You're welcome. It was divinely guided. I'm certain of it. It just fell together so easy.
Can I ask a question? How can I learn more now, Ruth, about tarot reading?
Well, you can join my meetup group.
Okay.
And I will have more classes. You can look on my website. I have a whole bunch of resources under the tarot tab. Janet and Cheryl and I were talking about the possibility of also doing in-person classes at UCM, but we still have to work out that the logistics of that. We gotta get all emperor on it. So yeah. If you want a good book, if you just want to, one of my favorite ones is Kitchen Table Tarot. It also has a wonderful section on ethics and also self-care. So yeah, I that one.
Your
Thank
meetup
you.
group is called what?
Tarot Energy Healing.
So I can just go to meetup and type that in and find you.
You should, yeah.
Okay.
Or meetup.com/tarot energy healing, or is it /groups/tarot energy healing? Whatever. The link is also on my website. Lady of
Okay.
Radiance. It's all right there.
Okay.
I try to make
Thank you so much, Ruth. And I want us all to just drink in this wisdom, take it into our body, mind, spirits, hearts, and realize that we are in an incredible wisdom circle every time we get together. And thank you, Ruth, for being so incredibly deep, incredibly honest.
Thanks.
And do something wonderful for yourself, each and every one of you.
Yes.
Thank
You
you.
deserve.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet, for making this
Thank you.
possible.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so grateful to be a part of this.
Take care, everyone. I'll be talking to you, Ruth.
Yep.
Wonderful. Take care, my
Bye.
friends.
Bye.
Maybe you too, Donna.
And for our next UCM speaker series in June, it will be Chen Li talking about sound healing.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Be good and
Bye,
gentle
yeah.
with yourself.
Thank you.
See you Sunday.
Yes.
See you Sunday.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
Christine, bye. Thank you so much, Ruth. You did a
Welcome.
beautiful job from your car.
Thanks. Spirituality anywhere, baby. Hey.
That's right, baby. Spirituality to go. And so as I blow out this candle, in reality, the light stays lit inside your heart. And I'll bring this to church on Sunday for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're gonna make me cry.
Oh, you're beautiful. Thank you so much. You gave us so much wisdom. I mean, really, this is one of the best classes or talks that I've heard about tarot. You really
Thanks.
allowed us to really explore the intricacies of it and the depth of it. So thank you.
Someone's just firing fireworks.
Oh my
Obviously, it's
goodness.
for me because I did such a good class, right?
I'm thinking that's what it's got to be. Oh, that's great. Thank you, universe. That was the perfect applause.
Okay. It felt
Thank
weird
you, my dear.
because I was the speaker, so I stayed on until the end.
I'm glad you did, so that everyone could really share their appreciation.
Yeah. All right.
So we are going to end the recording. Okay, I'll stop the recording.